Out of all the retrogrades, this one, to be fair to Mercury, does, you know, he does get a hard time with this retrograde, but it can be quite funky. And of course, it depends on the other aspects that's going on at the time. But he will be stationing direct later this week. So this is the 29th or the 30th of November, depending on where you are in the world. For us in the UK on GMT, 29th of November. Okay, so this will be happening. I've got the chart. I'll obviously show you the chart, but this is happening 13 hours, 47 minutes after Saturn stations direct in Pisces. So he is going to switch back on, start to move forward in Pisces. Of course, we've still got that window of time for his lessons to play out in Pisces. But then we've got Mercury switching back on, stationing direct, and then moving forward through Scorpio and then back into Sagittarius, where, of course, he started his retrograde. So it feels like there is a bit of movement happening with these planets starting to switch back on, which is great because, of course, the retrograde periods themselves have taught us certain things. We have introspected, we have reflected, we have reviewed. That is why we have these retrogrades. They serve a purpose. It can feel like the energy is slowing down for us. There can be this feeling of stagnancy or perhaps feeling a bit stuck, but we have to sit in that moment often to recognize what wisdom is coming up, what patterns are being revealed, what we need to understand and how we can move forward. So the positive to all of this is, yay, movement, and yay, Mercury stationing direct. We will have the post-shadow phase, okay? So the energy is still going to linger for another couple of weeks. That could actually take us up to the super full moon in Gemini we've got at the beginning of December. So just bear that in mind. You know, the energy can still be a bit clunky, but ultimately we're coming out of the retrograde. What have we learned from it? Have we understood where we've needed to be honest with ourselves and other people in our communication? What has it taught us? The depth we've had to go to in Scorpio. You know, he started his retrograde in Sag, but then he moved back into Scorpio to cover old ground. So we've had to go deep. And we have been going deep, you know, with all these retrogrades anyway. But we've had to go deep and understand when it comes to our expression and that realness, that rawness to the authentic expression we hold within, having to go deep and recognizing, are we being honest with ourselves? Have we held ourselves back? How has our mindset been? Has it been aligned with our goals? Let's be honest and real about it. So what have we learned during that time? Now, in the chart, at the moment, he stations direct, which, of course, I will show you very shortly. Mercury is going to be exactly conjunct the vertex point, which is a marker in astrology that can represent fate and destiny. And when I saw that, I felt immediately, okay, Mercury and vertex 2020. Interesting, it's those degrees because of what happened that year. But anyway, 2020, it's almost like a fated moment for honesty in our communication. So it can really signal things turning around for us in terms of what we've understood, what we've learned, what we're still continuing to learn, if we're being open to that, and how we can serve ourselves in the best way through that honest communication. So it does feel like a turning point in terms of that when it comes to our honest expression. Okay, it's not the only exact conjunction in the chart. Saturn and the moon will form an exact conjunction of 25 degrees Pisces. Now, Saturn in Pisces, you know, it's not a very nice planetary force to have in Pisces because it brings that intense energy that doesn't really sit well with Pisces, but it's needed. And at this time, you know, the lessons that he is serving up and has been and will continue to do for another 2.5 months relates to our soul's truth, our spiritual integrity. So they are important lessons that we need to understand. So to do that, we need to connect deeper to our intuition and understand what our intuition is telling us, to practice discernment, of course, and that connects in with communication as well, how we're communicating with ourselves via our intuition. But also, this is about honoring the sensitivity within our emotions, because the moon in Pisces is a very sensitive placement. So we might have had experiences where Saturn's been teaching us stuff, we've been learning certain things, and it has really pushed us into these sensitive emotions. But we have to feel those to understand what the lesson is. So what is beautiful about this chart is there is a grand water trine between Saturn and the moon, Mercury and Vertex point, and Jupiter, who is retrograde in Cancer. So the cardinal energy driving that Grand Trine is, of course, Cancer. So there is an openness. We need to understand, introspect, of course, because of the Jupiter retrograde, but be open and willing to understand what is coming up, what our sensitive emotions are telling us, and, of course, how honest we are being with our communication. So it's all allowing that flow. And in turn, it's enabling transformation. It's enabling profound inner growth. Let me just adjust my phone because it's the tripod is having a moment. Okay, it's not a technological glitch. This is actually equipment. But there we go. Let's see if that holds. All right. I'll hold on to it when we look at the chart. But there we go. These things happen. Go with the flow. You know, let's be open to what comes up. Perfect example. So yeah, it's about being willing to be open to go there in terms of the sensitivities, because by doing that, we're understanding how we feel and we're understanding where things need to change and where we might need to put boundaries in place. So all of it is actually helping us get more aligned with our spiritual truth, our soul's truth, our integrity, that which we hold within our inner compass, and guiding us forward. So it's very profound, you know, and maybe we don't want to go there. You know, when you think of Saturn ruling Capricorn, you know, that's taking emotion out of it. But this is actually saying, with them side by side, we have to feel these things. It could be harsh, but we have to feel these things in order to get us aligned with our soul's truth, because otherwise, how are we going to know? Okay, so there we are. The other thing in the chart as well that I was drawn to is something to do with sacred soul connections. So this could be heralding in sacred soul connections for us. And I will show you that in the chart. That is going to be coming up. So stay tuned for that. Right, let's get into it. Okay, and I'm going to hold on to the phone just to make sure it doesn't drop and then you're not even seeing my face at all. There we go. Right, let's share here. And that's being real and raw and honest with you all, folks. Okay, let's embrace that honesty. Okay, here we go. Right, this is the chart for the moment that Mercury stations direct in Scorpio. So it's a freeze frame of the cosmos at the time he stations direct. And if I just show you here, for us in the UK on GMT, 1738.28, so round it up to 1739 if you like. GMT, 29th of November, so Saturday, okay? So for people in Australia, it's going to be on the 30th. But for a lot of us, it's going to be the 29th, okay? So that's when this is happening. And as I said before, 13 hours, 47 minutes after Saturn stations direct in Pisces, okay? So here we are, Mercury and the vertex point. As I've mentioned, 2020, they are in exact conjunction, and the vertex point just really represents that marker point to indicate fate and destiny. Use your discernment with it always. In a natal chart, it's brilliant to give those fated and destined aspects in our lifetime, and you know, it can be read in conjunction with past fortuna and other placements. Often, if I'm looking at a particular astrological event, if it screams to me, if it shouts out to me, I'm going to pay attention to it. And here it is doing that because of the exact conjunction with Mercury. And it is at the moment that, of course, Mercury stations direct. So it really feels, although the minutes are different, you know, this is close. So it is fated honesty. It's bringing us to that place of saying, okay, what have I learned? What have I understood? Where do I need to be honest? Where do I need to speak up for myself? It's a turning point. It feels like it's a turning point as part of this transformative journey that we're on. So if we've held ourselves back before and we've understood through illumination, retrogrades and so on, that we have held ourselves back and we've needed to speak up for certain things, well, now we might be finding that energy, that kind of real oomph within and the honesty to be real, and to say what we need to say, even if it's to ourselves. You know, if we've held ourselves back and we've had to acknowledge that there's been certain patterns we've had to look at, which we still need to be kind to ourselves. And I'll come on to that in a moment because there's some things that indicate that. But we need to be honest. But where we need to speak up to people, and speak up for ourselves, this is actually, you know, the confidence boost that we need to do that, because it is like a fated turning point. But remember, as I've said before, we have free will. This is if we align with the energy, okay? The energy is there, the planetary energy is there to support us, but we have free will, okay? And if you look at the transits of Mercury stationing direct against your natal chart, it's going to show you where this is happening for you, okay? And how it might influence your journey, but you've still got free will, okay? So that's just a reminder. But anyway, 2020, that conjunction and the Grand Trine, this triangle that you can see with Saturn and the moon, there you go, 25 degrees of Pisces, and also with Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. So I've mentioned a bit about that, about being open to the lessons of Saturn, being open to going there when it comes to sensitive emotions, to understand why we've had to experience certain things, what that has taught us. That is going to get us deeper into our soul's truth. It's going to bring us a more solid connection with our intuition. And as we do that more and more, we are going to trust our intuition more and more, because we are solidifying the connection we have with source energy within us, and with that connection to divinity that is running through us, that is guiding us as our inner compass. Okay. Saturn is showing us the way, but can do it in a harsh way. But we have to feel these things to understand where pivots are needed, where adjustments are needed, where boundaries are needed, where rules are needed, why we've had to be shown certain things. Are we lacking structure in a certain place? Do we need to put more drive into something? You know, actually recognizing and respecting Saturn as a teacher, as a great teacher. He is a taskmaster, but he is a great teacher. So respect to Saturn. This is what it is. We're respecting what he is showing us, even if it feels sensitive to go there. But understanding, you know, Neptune is also lifting the veil, by the way. So Neptune is showing us a thing or two. So we're having to go there within sensitive emotions. And that might not be comfortable for some people. It might be comfortable for others who, you know, have more of that water energy within their chart, or have experienced other things similar. You know what I mean? Everyone's different. But it is about acknowledging that we need to go there. We need to respect what Saturn is showing us, but still come from a place of honesty in our communication. And all of it could be showing us where we do need to find our voice and speak up for what we want. Okay. So all of it is kind of intertwined. It's the bigger picture of looking at everything together, not just saying Mercury is stationing direct. What does that mean? It's looking at the other aspects as well. Now, there is a sesqui square across to Chiron in Aries. So there's still some lessons here potentially, and healing needed regarding our sovereignty. So again, the honest communication, when we can do that, we're standing up for ourselves, aren't we? So we need to feel empowered to stand up for ourselves. And how do we get there? By owning our sovereignty and coming from a place of self. What does the self want? Well, I need to speak up about this then. So then it's empowering us to speak up. But it's just highlighting that it's still a healing journey. It's a healing process. And we do need to recognize there's been a lot going on, a lot coming up. So it's still something that we're learning. But we are getting there. It feels like we are getting there with that. As I say, it's kind of like a turning point. And as the planets all begin to kind of, you know, station direct, and then there's movement forward, it's going to feel like there's more momentum. But we need to go within to understand these things and to find that confidence within. This is about having that real kind of drive to go after what we want. And maybe we've not felt we could do that before. So that's where some healing might be needed, and where we do still need to be honest with ourselves about that and other people. You know, perhaps, you know, we need to kind of command that respect that we're worthy of in what we're trying to pursue. From ourselves and from other people. Okay, so it's just recognizing that. But the Grand Trine that's there, you know, that I've mentioned just now, is harmonious. So there is a flow to that energy, and it allows us to be open but receive the expansion as well. Okay, plus more spiritual enlightenment, more deeper connection with our intuition as a result. which is going to make us stronger within our intuition, guiding us forward. And also it's going to make Saturn happy because that's what he's trying to do whilst he's in Pisces, get us in alignment with that. So there we go. And another marker that supports that is the midheaven of the chart as an astrological event is Pisces. So the aspiration, we're moving more into that alignment with our aspirations, what we're trying to achieve. And that's driven from what the soul wants, what our intuition is actually guiding us towards. If we've been listening to it, as we're unlocking the kind of levels of that, and we're removing the layers of toxicity, and we're getting deeper into that connection with our ethereal self, we're understanding more about what it is our soul wants. It's like the soul's path. So we're aligning more with our aspirations in terms of that ethereal essence, and to be guided by our intuition with that deeper connection that we're solidifying. Okay, so yes, I would say that is powerful. Okay, and also, I know it's an astrological event, but I often look at what the ascendant of the chart is doing in the midheaven, and here we've got Cancer. So it is about, this event, if you like, showing up for us in a place or from a place of unconditional love. So it's the supportive energy that comes from this. And I feel that with that turning point of actually going, okay, now I need to be honest and real. And that's what kind of clicks this transformation of then being able to express from an honest place, is showing that unconditional love. And we're kind of receiving that because we're acknowledging we need to do that. We also do need to be kind to ourselves through this process. I alluded to that before, because there is a nurturing here to what we've been having to process and go through. So we do still need to come from a place of unconditional love. But the other thing I will say about the Cancerian energy is, because the moon rules Cancer, and I just got this real strong, divine feminine vibe of that mother creator. I know we've got Gaia, the earth, as that mother creator as well, but it just feels like there is some creative capacity here that is being unlocked within us to recognize we've got the capability to do that. But have we been honest with ourselves and true to ourselves within our expression in relation to that capability? So it's looking at that as well. Okay. I mentioned before, very briefly, about sacred soul connections and what I felt from that. So I've just said that the ascendant of the chart is Cancer. So by default, the descendant is Capricorn, okay, over here. And who have we got 2 degrees off the descendant? Vesta. So Vesta represents the sacred flame. So divine feminine asteroid represents the sacred flame. There is a creation message here as well. She creates from that home and hearth vibe. Okay, it is that goddess Bridget type energy. So there is very much a creator vibe, but it comes from the sacred flame. So Vesta will remind us to pursue our sacred flame. So that which sparks the flame within, what inspires us, what sparks that passion and joy within us to enable us to create, to pursue something that brings us that joy. It gives us that kind of flame within to do that. What is that for you? Who is that for you? Like, could be a creative muse that inspires you to work on your creativity, for example. So it's understanding your sacred flame. And the fact that she's in Capricorn, okay, that's Capricorn energy. There's drive and determination to this, and Saturn rules Capricorn, as we know. But here, what I felt was, because with the descendant, that can show us about relationships that we're kind of aspiring to have in our life when we look at our natal chart, and those connections that are going to play a pivotal role in our lifetime. And yes, there is a rootedness to it, but it's also the influence. I feel like the influence here of such connections that we aspire to have. So throughout our journey, what we've been learning so far, and we get to this point, there could be something for many people who are feeling, right, well, I'm wanting to establish connections with people that are going to give me that drive and that momentum to propel myself forward. So as a support, but as a sacred flame inspiration as well. So it felt to me that the potential for sacred soul connections is here within the chart, the potential for it. Okay. And I say the potential for it because we've also got Juno, the other side of the descendant. And okay, she's in Sag, but often when I see Juno, yes, divine feminine asteroid represents love and marriage. I view her as a commitment energy and also soul contracts. So what I feel intuitively from this is, and because they're both either side of the descendant, is that, there could be significant sacred soul connection and soul contract in that way that is being heralded in by this energy in order to help propel us forward on our journey. And I say journey because we've got the Sag energy, propel us forward, that's the drive of Capricorn, but it's potential. So it's incumbent upon us to be committed to our path, Juno in Sag, and also to pursue our sacred flame, Vesta. So we need to have that drive to pursue our sacred flame. What is inspiring us? What is that path for us? What are we trying to create as a result of that inspiration that we feel? And are we committed to that? And with that focus, with that energy around that we apply to it, that then aligns with sacred soul connection. That could be a relationship that we're aspiring to have because we do feel we need support from somebody on our path right now to help, give us that bit of a boost to move us forward into what we are trying to do. But we still need to be on the path first. So that's the caveat there. Okay. And this is what I can see from the astrology. Okay. And I say that because what we've got is we've got a square, although I've not marked it up on here, we've got a square that is going to Ceres in Aries. Okay. So the challenge comes from planting the seeds of that which we're trying to achieve from a place of the self, Aries. Okay. So we need to be, if we're aware of what our sacred flame is, like that inspires me to create this. This is what I'm trying to pursue. So then planting the seeds for that would be putting steps in place to achieve that. So then you're on the path to that. And as you do that and the energy builds and the momentum builds, it then opens up the space, as long as we've been closing out the cycles that don't align with our soul's truth, of course, for that sacred soul connection. And Vesta is in a trine, harmonious trine to the South Node in Virgo. So it could be a past life soul connection that comes in. Okay, so it's somebody, and I'm going deep here. It's somebody who you've known before on a soul level, who comes in at this appropriate time to help you propel forward on your path. But needing to be on the path at the start, they come in to then assist. Okay, they're not going to come in to shove you on your path. It's kind of like they come in when you're already on the path, and then they assist to propel you forward. Significant soul contract. There's a sextile from the South Node to Poseidon. So there's recognition here that there's still going to be things churned up quite deep. And if we're looking at what I've just said, it could be that if it is a past life soulmate who comes in for that reason, that there might still be some stuff coming up that needs to be processed. So there could be karma that needs to be healed for one or both parties. And that's also part of the soul contract. Okay. And by doing that, that is also propelling both of you forward on your respective paths. Okay. If we think of the reciprocal energy that we're trying to achieve as well, from a soul contract. Okay. So I know that goes a bit deep. It might be resonating for some of you, but certainly if you've got that desire and that aspiration of, I really do feel like I want somebody to be here with me on my path to support me in this endeavor. This could be a major indication for you. There needs to be that openness to it. There needs to be that that willingness to be on the path already. It's aligning with your truth. So your energy is going to be at that frequency, that vibration. So the potentiality is absolutely showing up in the chart. Okay, is what I would say here. And it could be, if it's a past life connection, the connection this lifetime could be in a completely different way. It could have been a romantic partner from a past life, and it could be now a business partner in this lifetime. But you share that soul resonance because you've been connected previously. Okay, that's what I would say. Now, if we're not even talking about past lives, the very fact that the South Node is in the mix could be somebody from the past that you already know in this lifetime. Personally, I feel there's more resonance here with past life, but it can play out different ways for different people. So it could be somebody you already know, who, once you're on your path, you've started the steps on your path, they then come in to assist you with getting you over the finish line, if you like, okay, to explain it in that way. So I hope that makes sense, how I've explained it. That's just what it feels. But Juno, that reminder with Juno there in Sag, is kind of like, we do need to be committed to our path. We do need to be committed to our journey. So that's the important thing. And it's still a lesson for us to be honest and real with ourselves and to pursue our path. So planting the seeds for our life, metaphorically speaking, putting those things in place, believing in the self to do that, having the power and the honesty within to pursue what we want to pursue, and then being open, to support from soul tribe, okay? And again, could unlock a significant soul contract that is going to help you pursue what you need to pursue and to get you through what you need to get through into this next phase of your journey, okay? So I'm going to stop sharing there, trying to keep it as brief as possible, but I do allow myself to be open to any channeled information coming through, and I allow it to go with the flow. So I hope there is something in there that helps you, okay? Obviously, recognizing this week is positive because we've got, these planets that are stationing direct, so it feels like there is a bit more movement. We still need to process certain stuff, of course. There's other retrogrades going on, but it feels like we are getting there. And because we're in Sag season now, it is about the quest, it is about the journey, but that mutable fire energy might be helping us as well, just to keep us going, okay, to motivate us to keep going. But we need to also motivate ourselves, be kind to ourselves, and actually give ourselves a pat on the back every now and then for everything that we are doing, experiencing, and going through, okay? So I'm sending you all my best. If you want to find out a bit more about Saturn stationing direct, I have done a separate astrology video on this. It's already available on my Goddess of Neptune YouTube channel. I'll pop a link in the description box. And I've covered the moment that he stations direct in Pisces, and I've also shown you the chart for when he ingresses into Aries. So we're looking at then the theme at the start of that 2.5 months before he moves into Aries, and really how we can maximize the best use of that time to learn his lessons whilst he's in Pisces, and be open to the blessings. Of course, it's a time for karmic blessings as well as karmic lessons, of course. So that might be of help if you want to go deeper. And also, when it comes to Saturn, I know this video is about Mercury, but talking about Saturn, if you want to find out Saturn's influence in your chart, and also how transiting Saturn could be impacting your chart as well, I am offering my Goddess of Neptune Saturn scopes. So if you want to actually book one of those, special deal for Black Friday, by the way, as well, check out the link in the description box. So that will enable you to understand how Saturn is working for you, how you can maximize the potential for your journey. Okay, so please like, share, subscribe, and comment if you wish how this Mercury retrograde has played out for you. It all helps the algorithm. It helps get this video out to more people. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for your support so far. Truly grateful. And yeah, we've got this. Let's just keep motivating each other to get through this transformative period. So sending you all the best, and I'll see you on the next video.